There's been a recent rash of emails sent my way from viewers wanting my opinion on hunting with a live round inside the chamber. You'll get guys who honestly seem borderline hoplophobic telling people to never hunt with a round in their chamber. You'll get other guys, like most experienced hunters, that always hunt with a live round inside the chamber of their gun. Then you'll get middle of the road type guys who take a more logical, situational approach to it. Let me start by saying that I've been carrying a concealed Glock on me for basically the last 30 years with a gold dot sitting in the chamber ready for action at all times. Carrying Israeli style, with an empty chamber, is really stupid for a self defense firearm because when you need it now. But there are some hunting situations when carrying with an empty chamber or a completely empty gun is a wise course of action, in my opinion. So let's explore this topic further. Guys who tell you to never put one in the chamber until just before you're about to shoot are unfamiliar with a lot of different types of hunting. They pretty much lack the experience outside of their own norms, and this inexperience gives them a very limited perspective on hunting. Dealing in absolutes on this subject is pretty much impossible. If you're hunting birds, especially upland hunting, you better have a shell in the chamber while you're actively hunting, or you'll never get a wild chucker or quail. If I have boots on the ground in bird country, my gun is always ready to take a quick snapshot at a flushing bird. If you're hunting dangerous game in thick cover, that's a situation where having one in the chamber has saved countless lives over the years. In these situations, your rifle is also for self-defense in a hostile environment. When an old Dagaboy comes out of nowhere, you better be ready to shoot. Along the same line of thinking, we need to consider the guys who do what's referred to as still hunting. Most YouTube personalities have never still hunted before. When a YouTube personality tells you to never hunt with one in the chamber, most of the guys back east who still hunt in thick forests are going to be laughing. They know that if you come across a buck at 25 yards in the thick stuff, you cannot run that bolt without spooking that deer. In fact, you'll notice that most YouTube hunters these days do what I refer to as lazy hunting. They'll go to a high spot, glass an animal from a long distance, or drive around and spot animals, and rather than stalk close to that animal they're hunting, they'll set up and take a long shot from where they spotted the animal from. These lazy hunters have no reason to carry a loaded rifle at all because they aren't actually stalking animals. When you actively stalk animals, your outlook on carrying a gun with one in the chamber does change somewhat. As I clearly laid out in this chapter, there are numerous circumstances where hunting with a live round in the chamber is appropriate. But this isn't an absolute. And as we'll discuss in the next chapter, there are times when hunting on an empty chamber is more appropriate. Hunting is the second safest sports hobby in the United States. Injury rates for hunting are lower than bowling, exercise, or playing golf. But having said that, safety should be a large part of your hunting routine. The more levels of safety that you add to your routine, within reason, the better off everybody is. So let's discuss hunting situations where an empty chamber or a completely unloaded gun is prudent. Obviously, youth hunters and people inexperienced with firearm handling should never be walking around with a round in the chamber. In my video, A Parent's Guide to Youth Hunting, I give some great pointers on youth firearm safety while hunting, and that's a suggested watch for any parents out there who want to introduce their children to hunting. Most of the negligent discharges I've seen in my many years of hunting have been with youth hunters, and those usually involve a kid and a semi-auto shotgun. So youth hunters or people learning about firearms should not be walking around with one in the chamber. And I also recommend that they don't use a semi-auto as their first gun. Also, I never have a round in the chamber of a firearm that I don't have direct control over. I often strap my rifle to a pack when I travel into the backcountry, and when I do this, the rifle is completely out of my control, so it's completely unloaded when I carry a rifle on my pack. And the same applies to if I set a gun down or I lean a gun against a tree to go to the bathroom or maybe have a snack. That gun's always unloaded before I do that. Hunting also involves hiking to places where the hike itself doesn't involve actively hunting. You know, if you're hiking to a glassing point up on the top of a hill, or you're walking out to your hunting blind, there's no reason to have a round in the chamber when you do that because you are not actively hunting at that time. Distance can also play a factor. If you're hunting in a really open area, where you'll never get within 150 yards of an animal, you'll probably have plenty of time to get into a stable position, chamber around, and fire. And most hunting out west can probably be done without a round in the chamber. Guided hunts. Let's talk about that for a minute. Guided hunts are also a factor. Many guides don't trust a lot of their clients, and often for good reason. To increase safety, guides will often insist that their clients hunt on an empty chamber. And you can't really blame them for this because it's really hard to trust people you don't know. And before people chime in to regurgitate the phrase, anything mechanical could fail, like a broken record or a mindless drone, let me tell you why a mechanical safety is a really good thing on most hunting firearms. A seatbelt is a mechanical safety that can also fail, but you wear one anyways because the benefits far outweigh the risk of mechanical failure. Yes, your brain is your primary safety when handling firearms, but safety in layers is a good thing, like I said earlier. You know, would you carry around a double rifle in Africa without the safety on? Would you chase chukar up some gnarly extinct volcano without the safety on your gun? No, no reasonable person would ever do that. Having a safety on while you load and unload your rifle or even do a chamber check is a good thing to actually layer up your levels of safety. The likelihood of a mechanical safety failing is very minimal, and it adds an important layer of safety to a loaded firearm, in my opinion. You know, what if you trip while you're working a pheasant field, trying to jump shoot pheasants? What if you drop your gun while you're in the duck blind waiting for ducks to fly in? Or what if you fall down while you're blood tracking a wounded bear? Using your safety is a good thing. As you saw in this video, hunting with one in the chamber isn't a black and white subject. There's many gray areas. Are you hunting dangerous game in thick cover? Are you hunting flushing birds? Are you tracking a wounded animal? Are you hunting in really thick woods? The situation you're hunting in will dictate the condition that you carry your firearm in. There are no absolutes or blanket statements on this subject, in my opinion. It's going to be highly situational. Rather than listen to some hoplophobic millennial or some old fudge stuck in their ways, just use common sense on the issue. Don't automatically discount an extra safety measure just because you don't like it. And conversely, don't be a chamber Nazi when someone stalks an animal with a round in the chamber. The 4 firearm rules are pretty much unconditional, and they are what ultimately prevents an accident from happening. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video on a very controversial subject. Thank you for watching, and as always, good hunting.